With the release of Season 4 Part 1 of Dragon's Rising, we were reintroduced to a vast majority of the Empyreans that we saw within Season 1 of Dragon's Rising, but there has been one particular citizen that has been missing, and has debatably been one of the most important citizens that we've ever seen across the show. And that is Jordana. She played a very pivotal role in the second season of the show. In Season 2 Part 1, she assisted in the ritual of the Blood Moon. She helped out Raz, and she was the very reason why the Blood Moon was actually able to happen. And then come Season 2 Part 2, she actually was possessed by rocks, and is the entirety of the reason why the Forbidden Five were released and actually did everything they did in Season 3. So she is extremely important, but as of Season 2 Part 2, we haven't actually seen her. And this has led to a very big question of where actually is Jordana. We have not had an answer, and they've seemingly not acknowledged her since Season 2 Part 2, apart from one little thing that we will talk about very soon. So today we will look over all of the evidence that we have, and we will try to come to a conclusion as to where she truly does reside. And above all else, will she even return in Dragon's Rising? But let me not waste any more of your time, and let's get into where is Jordana. Now, if you don't remember who Jordana is, let me give you a very quick crash course as to what she actually was doing within Ninjago. She was the former assistant to Dr. LaRoe and Sora's self-proclaimed rival. She was eventually recruited by Raz on behalf of his master for efforts in extracting energy from a source dragon. She became a general of the Wolf clan, and during her time as a general, she began practicing Theoraxian magic. Like I said earlier, this is what eventually did lead to her actually being possessed by Rox. She was trapped within Rox's mind for Season 2 Part 2. She had some brief moments of being able to break through, and that was the reason why the ninja actually knew what was going on, but for the most part she was completely disposed of when it did come to Rox's possession. At the end of the season, she even says that whilst Rox was puppeting her body, she was trapped inside her mind. She's seen her thoughts and her evil plans, and they had to stop her. So it very clearly did shake her up, but she was eventually freed. But this was the last time we actually got to see Jordana. After the event of Season 2 Part 2, we get to hear Sora talk about the fact that no one has seen Jordana since she did release the ninja from being frozen. They were just never really accounting for her by that point, and it led to the fact that she hasn't been seen ever since. But like I mentioned earlier, she has come up in a very strange sense. She appeared within Jay's vision in Season 4 Part 1. She was one of the people who took one of the ninja's body during that scene where Jay is trying to escape. It's really interesting that she was chosen here, as there's seemingly not too much of a link between the two. Yes, they were in the Wolf clan at the same time, but I just don't think it really was a fitting pick. But the point is that she was acknowledged. This has led to a lot of people, myself included, to realise that she is missing and she is completely unaccounted for, and has led to question on where she truly is by this point in time. For her to be missing for so long with no explanation is honestly very weird, and especially considering the fact that there has been no indication on where she might actually be. So a lot of people have come to theorising on what she's actually been doing with herself since then. There is not really a lot of evidence to suggest what may have been happening, but I do think there is a very least some. In terms of her exact location within the Merge Lands, who truly knows? There is literally no way to determine this. There is no exact point that Jordana would be inclined to actually go to. The only place would be Imperium, and she is just simply too recognizable to be there. So who actually knows what's going to be the case when it does come to that? But the evidence as to where she would have potentially have went is at least somewhat there. We know for a fact that she has to have gone somewhere because she did just simply vanish, like I said. But the thing is that it does coincide with what she was going to do at the end of Season 1 before Raz actually recruited her. The thing that Raz was actually doing, or prevented her from doing, was just simply fleeing. And that was Jordana's plan all along, was just to simply go away. She possibly was just going to go to Ninjago City, or Mysterium, or the Wilderness, or any of those random places that she could have selected. But would you be interested to hear that my best guess would actually be one of the ones that I did just say? I think she actually did go to Mysterium. I think there's a good chance she went to that realm specifically because that is where a load of magic users are. And I think that is going to be what Jordana has been doing this entire time. Like I said, we've talked a lot about Theoraxian magic here, and we know for a fact that Mysterium seemingly are somewhat aware of it to be because we get to know about it through Candelaria. But the thing is that I think that she went there to continue to hone in on her magical abilities. It is known that that type of magic is rare to come by and extremely strong, and Jordana definitely did have an aptitude towards it. So I do think she would be continuing to do so because she did also take the item that she needed to do that magic, which is the orb. It would make complete sense that that is the most likely place that she has ended up. It is the place that coincides the most with her character and what we know about her so far. Because like I said, Imperium wouldn't have been an option in her own brain. So I do think that is where she has ended up. And I do think that coincides with how she may be able to potentially return when it does come to the show. I think the inclusion of her in Season 4 Part 1 in Jay's vision was no mistake. She is the only Imperium, like I said, to be missing. I think that they are going to eventually lean into her if Beatrix does continue to play a part within Dragon's Rising. Like I said, she is in the Season 4 Part 2 sets, so if she is returning in these next 10 episodes, maybe she will seek out some new people to be able to help her out with her quest. And who better than someone who was loyal to her, but also a now wielder of powerful magic. This would make a lot of sense because Beatrix would require people who has that kind of ability, and also Jordana was fiercely loyal as it has been shown. She is the person who had results. She is someone who did her best to please the good Empress. She was someone who tried to flee the city to begin with because of the fall of her. I think it does make complete sense for that to be the reintroduction. Here is how I think it would actually play out. Season 4 Part 2, we see the ninja wonder about ways that Beatrix is actually able to do the things that she does. We see the ninja curious about the ins and outs of Imperium as well, but they need to speak to someone who is actually up in terms of ranking, and they think of Jordana. They track her down to Mysterium where they find her studying Theoraxian magic, and she is just simply residing there to herself calmly. She does actually initially speak to the ninja relatively friendly. She does have some sort of bitter resentment towards them, but that is beside the point. She talks about how the Forbidden Five possessed her, how it really messed with her mind, how she had to get away, and it was something that she really doesn't want to experience once more. She gives the ninja the answers that they are looking for, but she isn't exactly happy about it, but the ninja do leave her to be. Eventually, come down the line of the season, Beatrix will be looking for people to be able to serve under her. She will come across Jordana. She will be shocked, she'll be surprised, she will wonder how the good Empress was able to return. She will realize that the person that she originally idolized is back, and with someone who can actually be her master once more, she feels reinvigorated. She rejoins the Empress, she rejoins the army, and she does her best to help retake Imperium. I think that honestly would make a lot of sense. This would serve as a fantastic way to reintroduce her into the story, and put the things that she has learned over the course of her time with Raz to use. I think it would be a fun way to round off her character and really bring her back to where things originated from. This is obviously then coming down to whether or not they even want her to return, because it does seem to be that the writers have implied that they may not actually want her to, or more specifically, they just don't really want to interact with her much longer. There was a post from Doc a while ago that really did stick out to me. Someone asked Doc whether or not Jordana was actually okay as of the event of the second season of the show. And Doc responds to that with, does she deserve to be okay? That is a very interesting response, especially considering the fact that her last action within the show was a relatively good one, actually helping the ninja being frozen to save the day. So, of course, that doesn't eliminate all of the things that she's done prior, but it definitely does set up the fact that she didn't really want what happened to have happened. Of course, Season 2 Part 1 she did, but that's kind of beside the point. But it does lead into this question on whether or not the writers actually want her to have some sort of arc going forth. Maybe her arc is something like I've described, where she is still the villain. Maybe she isn't destined to be good like it seemingly did set up. Who actually knows? But I do think it is fairly interesting to imply that maybe she just doesn't simply deserve a happy ending. But that is why my version of events have come to be. When I saw that, I looked at how you could reapproach this character and essentially have her continue to be evil. And this is just simply the answer that made sense to me. I don't see her ever going back to Raz, that's for sure, so it would make sense for her to return to the Empyreans. But obviously, that is down to whether or not the writers want that to be the case. But I do think regardless of all of this, Jordana should return in some capacity. I do think it would be very good and definitely a waste if she didn't. Like I said, as of Season 4 Part 1, she's the only Empyrean that we haven't seen. And I do think that is just very odd. Her depiction as well in Jade's vision, again, I just don't think is a mistake. And I do think these details are implying that she returns. But I do think this would be the best way of doing it without overlapping on the Raz plot, and also having a way for her to return to Beatrix, because it would be cool to see with her all powered up like she is now. But that is my theory as to how Jordana could return and where she may currently reside, and I would love to know, what do you think of this? Do you agree or do you disagree? Do you want her to return? Do you not want her to return? Do you want her to be okay after the events of Season 2 Part 2? Do you disagree with the implication that does she even deserve to be? I would love to know what you think, because I do think she is fairly interesting, and she did come from one of the better seasons of the show. But of course, that is now down to you. But thank you very much for watching the video, and I do hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please consider subscribing. I love discussing Ninjago with more people. And if you do want to support the channel any further, which you do not have to, you could always become a channel member and join the legends that you see on screen. Your support means the absolute world to me, each and every single one of you, and I really cannot thank you enough. But like I said, that is about it for today, and take care. Okay, bye!